Hi, my name is Alfred Green for You Can Talk, You Can Sell. If you'd like to change your selling style so you can be one of the best salespeople in your company or even in your industry, then join this program. It's so simple, anyone can figure it out, and everybody that's ever learned it and applied it has risen up to be top salespeople and increase that income as well. And you can get it right here. Hey, if you use this one trick, this will help you increase your sales to much higher numbers. This is Al. My name is Alfred Green, and I wanted to share with you part of the system of You Can Talk, You Can Sell. By using this one trick, and we have a lot of tricks, then you will be able to see different results. Number one, be a consultant. And by being a consultant, what you want to do is you want to let your customer do all the talking as much as possible. The more they talk, the more they're most likely to buy. Because if you're listening and you're validating your customer, because we're all human and we all want validation. Validation could be as simple as just giving them a nod, or when they say something about themselves, just say, yeah, I understand. But ask them open-ended questions to get them talking about themselves. The more they talk, the more they're likely to purchase. So how do you do that? Well, there's plenty of good ways to start conversations. You could internet this one to death about how to find ways to start conversations. A lot of times it's about asking them about the company or about their job. I've done it many times, as have some of the people that I've coached, to walk into a company, and when they get in front of the buyer, they'll say, so how long has this company been in business? And the person will usually give them an answer, and they'll say it, something like, 15 years. And then you validate that by saying, that's great. At this same location? And they'll usually say, no, we moved from, 20 miles away. And then, another question is like, so that must have been a huge move. Were you with the company back then? And these are the kind of questions that get people talking. You'd be amazed at how you can turn around a person's attention to give you attention by asking about them and then focusing on them. It's such a simple technique, isn't it? And yet people miss that all the time. The other thing that's a great big part of this is hitting the numbers, because the numbers work in your favor, because salespeople are hard to come by. In fact, a lot of companies have trouble hiring outside salespeople that want to be consultants to sell for them. They know darn well they can't trust the national call numbers for people to call in. There's people that they want to put out in the field that'll go track down those customers and bring them in, and they offer great rewards. If your company had to do anything to sell you to go to work for them, then that's how badly they need you. If, on the other hand, you presented yourself in such a way that you were attractive to them so that they hired you, then you sold something. You sold yourself. And that's the biggest part of this simple one trick, and that is selling yourself, because when you ask other people to talk, you naturally get into a rhythm, a cadence with them. And you usually do it by being yourself. And when you're yourself, that's when you are at your best. And now it's a matter of just working hard, because if anybody is ever going to be successful, you're not going to find them doing so by being lazy. They're all going to work. Now, this doesn't mean that it's not simple. It just means that they'll put in the extra hours and they will go over and above. So, for example, if you're one of the kind of people that is out just trying to track down customers, and you want to know how you can appear to be different, because that's what they want to see. They want to see something different. They don't want to hear a pitch and sell. They don't want to hear a show and tell. They don't want you to go into a sales pitch and then they get negative and you handle their objections. They're kind of expecting that kind of a treatment. So if you're just different and you do something that will surprise them, like asking them questions and then truly listening. You will also hear everything you need to record in your mind so that you can play it back to them for them to want to buy from you. When this system works, it's almost like your order taking. It's amazing how many times a customer will start pushing you to sell to them because they want it. That's called motivating their customer. You're changing their perception, and that's what you were hired to do, is alter their perception so that they're more open to buying from your company, or maybe it's your own company, but you change people's perception, not by changing them, but by listening to them, because they're perceiving that you're just kind of going to run off at the mouth and talk and talk and talk. And let's face it, even if I continue talking for the next 20 minutes, your ear is going to go to sleep. If you talk and talk and talk, your customer's ear will fall asleep along with their attention. So what you want to do is as much listening as possible. Pay attention to them. Don't forget, when they say their name, that you're going to have to remember it in a couple of minutes if you want to talk to them. So if a person says her name is Brenda, it's not going to hurt in 5 minutes if you want to say to Brenda, listen, Brenda, can I ask you a question? It's amazing how many times in 20 seconds you'll forget that name. It happens to all of us. I've done it many times, but you recover. The idea also, part of this whole plan, is to stay in front, to always be present whenever you can. I don't mean by hounding the people or stalking them, but be present enough for them to never forget that you're there. Every time I would go see a customer, I was taught by some of the top salespeople to leave my card in a brochure and remind them that I was there. Sure, let them get tired of seeing me, but also if you work it and finesse it correctly, they will not only be happy to see you, but when you show up, to them it's going to be like a fun time. Especially if you bring them little trinkets. Like, for example, on Halloween, I used to always hand out candy. I don't need to do that. That didn't make the sale. But what it was the fun thing that I brought to them. And many times now, in these days, you go see somebody and they've got a dog in their office. And it certainly doesn't hurt to show some interest and ask hey, what's the dog's name? What's your dog's name? And how old is your dog? Well, my dog's name is Bentley. How old is Bentley? Well, he's about 5 years old. Well, how long have you had him then? Well, I've had him since he was a puppy. Wow, that's great. Is there any other pets in the house? These are all just conversation things, like techniques. But the real trick is to be unpredictable. Don't let them believe for a second that you're only there to show and tell and not listen to them. Forget about selling to their needs, because a lot of people don't buy based on needs. A lot of times they'll buy based on desire. They want something. That's not necessarily a need. The other thing is forget the concept of closing, because closing implies that you're pitching and selling. The close of the sale, which means you've completed the sale and the customer bought, usually happens when you have said some leading words like, by the way, I can get you this in the next 5 days. And they might ask a question like, well, will you install it for me? Or some question like that. You have now put yourself in the position to write that order. But you don't have to do it in all of the traditional methods, because with today's market, things don't work like that anymore. Things are different now. People are different. People want to talk and be heard. Doesn't matter what their age is. Doesn't matter what your background is, whether it's ethnic or whether it's from any kind of an origin, or if you have a disability. In fact, people with disabilities often are some of the best salespeople because they can talk. And you can talk, you can sell. So stay with this and understand to be different. Ask yourself a question. What can you do to be different today with your customers? Is it just a matter of listening? You'd be surprised how many times that is the simplest of all the answers. So stay with this, because it never fails. People love to talk, and they love to talk about themselves. So if you let them and you're enthusiastic, sure, sometimes you're going to be talked into oblivion, but that's just part of the fun. Let them do it, because after all, if they're lining your pockets, what do you care? That's part of the time you're spending making the sale. And people love consultants. So as a consultant, you're going to be one who shows that you care. You're going to work hard and go over and above. Offer to give them your phone number on the weekends. People have questions. Wouldn't hurt to be there. You're probably going to pick it up anyway if one of your friends or relatives calls. Why not for a customer? So these are some of the little things, okay? So use that simple technique and then come back and I've got more techniques for you. So we'll see you then. Thanks again. This has been Alfred Green, and I'm signing off.